So, after a full week away, I'm back, feeling refreshed, thankful, and just ready to continue on my halftime journey. Last episode, we hit a milestone. We finally made it to double digits. 10 episodes. It's still crazy to even say out loud. But honestly, that 10th one kind of felt like the end of what I've been calling the inner arc, the remember who you are inside arc. But now it's kind of like you and I are entering into a different phase of this journey. And this phase is kind of where you learn how to navigate your life without shrinking back into old habits and without abandoning the woman that you just became. And at the same time, you're also exploring how to maintain your energy and navigate growth and even navigating your relationships as the new you. Matter of fact, as the true you. And all of that can feel kind of overwhelming. Because it's like, okay, Queen, I'm loving this glow up, but it took a lot of effort to become her. And I'm tired. Can we just breathe for a second? And being tired doesn't automatically mean burnout. Sometimes it's full heart tired. That kind of tired that comes after you finally become who you were meant to be. And your body just lets out that long overdue exhale. So last week, I finally decided to give myself a little break. My own personal bye week. Every NFL team takes a bye week, It's not because they're losing, but because rest is actually built into winning. So if the NFL can rest strategically, why can't I? Resting taught me something important. You can't achieve anything if you don't actually give yourself time to just pause, breathe, and realign. There's that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. It's the same thing as saying, like, you can't pour from a drained version of yourself. And you can't evolve without giving your spirit a second to just settle into the woman that you're becoming. Tonight's episode is titled Permission to Rest, Burnout, Boundaries, and Learning to Breathe Again. And this is Halftime Girl. I want to say it was maybe either a few hours after I posted last episode or maybe the next morning. But I just remember having that full heart tiredness. Like I was, it's like that tiredness that comes from like, when you finally accomplish a long sought after goal. And over the next few days, just between working both jobs and trying to plan out the episode, I kept getting home from work and I'd eat dinner and knock out for the night. And before I even realized it kind of happened like 2-3 nights in a row. And I finally just said, screw it. I need a break. It's Thanksgiving this week. Let me just take the time to relax with family, food, and of course, some football. And you know what? It was both one of the best and one of the hardest things I've ever done. Now, I can't speak for everyone, but at least for me, just giving myself permission to rest, to come back to the work and make sure that I won't lose momentum and I can still actually pick up from where I left off. That right there was the hardest part. And it literally felt almost impossible. I had to literally force myself not to work on anything and just take the time to rest. And trust me, like there's multiple times I want to just go pick up my notebooks and just jot down little notes. And of course, here and there, I kind of dabbled and kept little notes that I wanted to at least keep at the forefront of what I wanted to learn from this time just resting. And, in my mind, it always felt like if I rested, I'd lose everything. If I stopped spinning the plates, they'd all come crashing down. So for me, it was just very important to still have some kind of lesson learned from that time away. And of course, when you actually say it out loud, you realize how ridiculous that is. Stopping is not the end all be all of whatever progress that you've made. But, taking a breath and taking a pause, it's it's hard to realize at the moment that you're in it that it's not the end of the world. You can't see that when you're going half crazy. And I think that's kind of the beauty of rest. It opens up possibilities that you were either too tired or too stressed or too half crazy to see. So, one of the things that I learned about rest this week is that you don't actually realize how much you needed it until you finally stop and just surrender to the moment. And I feel like rest is uncomfortable, at least at first, because of the fact that it requires that surrender. And it's a moment where you kind of just try to stop controlling every single outcome and just let yourself be. And when you're used to managing everything, that's, again, one of the hardest things that you can do. Trust me, I get it. But that moment of surrender just made me realize, the world didn't fall apart just because I sat down for a second. Nothing dropped, nothing exploded. I didn't lose anything. I just finally gave myself a moment to breathe. And everything started to realign. So the second thing that rest kind of taught me was that exhaustion distorts reality. And when you're tired, small things can feel huge, and simple things can feel complicated. It's like that Snickers commercial. They're like, oh, you're not you when you're hungry. I mean, yeah, the same thing goes for when you're tired too. But the minute that you actually slow down, everything stops feeling so dramatic. You can look at something that you were actually spiraling about and be like, man, that wasn't even a problem. Or, oh, I overreacted because I was sleepy. And when you're running on E, like, the little fumes at the end of the gas tank, it messes you up. And for sure, I don't want you to think that, like, rest didn't give me new answers. I mean, I don't think it necessarily even gave me new answers. It just gave me a clearer mind to sort of see the answers that were already there. It was just up to me to actually take a step back and be like, oh, damn, there it is. All right, cool. The third thing I learned is that rest is also a boundary, like a real one. Rest is the moment you can actually sit there and tell the world, you don't get unlimited access to me. You don't always have to pick up the phone or reply immediately to that text. You don't always have to be on. But honestly, the real boundary is also with yourself. Most of the time, it's not even other people who are draining us. It's that version of us that, thinks that it needs to be ready and needs to be everything for everyone all the time. So taking rests, it actually kind of forces you to say, I'm done for today. I'm not available right now. It's making that active decision. Like no, sorry, not right now. Or give me a call tomorrow instead. Just even those little minute decisions, or they can seem minute to us in that moment, but taking that time for yourself to make sure that you don't actually get burnt out and keep that boundary intact, it helps keep pieces of yourself inside, So it's like when you rest, you're not necessarily keeping everyone else out, you're just keeping yourself in, if that makes sense. You're kind of preserving what you need so you can show up with intention rather than resentment, later down the road. That right there is a boundary. And when you set boundaries, it's kind of almost instinctive to worry about what the other person's going to think, or, okay, well, I don't want to insult them. This is where you can kind of just sit there and say, I'm not going to resort back to my old ways. I'm not going to go back to being a people pleaser. I'm not going to shrink myself. This is my boundary. I can't do this right now. I can do this another time. But you can't do anything without resting. And if you don't learn how to rest, you're going to burn out mentally, emotionally, even when you swear you're doing everything right. We tend to treat rest like it's the opposite of ambition. Like you're taking a week off somehow undoes all of the work that you've done. But look at the NFL. Nobody questions a team taking a bye week. Nobody says, oh, I guess they don't want to win it badly enough. No. We understand it's part of the game. It's part of winning. It's part of longevity. It's part of being able to finish the season strong. And I'm no different. Me taking time to breathe doesn't undo the 10 episodes that I put out there into the world. It doesn't erase my growth. And it sure as hell doesn't cancel the progress that I've made. It actually helps further my progress along without me collapsing underneath it. But just ask yourself this. What's the point of becoming this version of you if you burn yourself out trying to live as her? So, if you're listening to this like, okay, but how do I actually rest without feeling guilty? Here's something you can try this week. Nothing intense, nothing overwhelming, just a little ritual that I had to kind of teach myself. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're just going to pause for one moment. Not a full day, not a full weekend, just one moment. Ask yourself, what part of me is tired right now? What part of me is tired right now? Is it your body, your mind, your patience? It's like half the time we don't even realize or know where we're exhausted until we just ask ourselves. So check in with you. The second thing you're going to do is just check your perspective. When you slow down, ask yourself, is this really a problem? Or am I just overwhelmed? This question alone is going to save you from like 90% of your spirals. Because once you've rested even just a little bit, you see things differently. And sometimes the only thing that needed fixing was how tired you actually were. The third thing you're going to do is just choose one act of rest. Just one. Don't try to become a restful person and don't try to overhaul your routine. No one's saying you have to do all that. But just choose one small thing that you can give yourself this week. And I don't know, I wrote down a bunch. Choose any of these. Choose whatever you actually want to choose. But, whether it's, going to bed earlier every night or one night, or putting your phone on Do Not Disturb for an hour, taking a long shower, sitting in silence for like 5 minutes, not rushing to immediately answer a text message, or taking a walk without headphones, just actually taking in nature. Pick one, pick none, choose one for yourself, but just let that be enough. The last thing that you're going to do is just give yourself actual permission out loud. That part's actually important. And you have to say this, or you don't have to say this particular quote if you don't want to. This is what I chose for myself. If you want to say something like it, you're more than welcome to, but you got to say it out loud. So what I chose was, resting does not take anything away from me. It helps me show up as the woman that I am becoming. Because rest it's not just something that you do. It's something that you allow. It's something that you choose. And when you actually say it out loud, your nervous system listens. It responds. So that right there is your rest ritual. A pause, a perspective check, one small act of rest and permission. That's it. So, if today's episode sat with you, or if you heard something that you think that you really needed, come hang out with me outside the podcast too. I'm over on IG under Halftime Girl Podcast. And the official Halftime Girl Facebook page is going to be up within the next 48 hours. So be sure to like the page and follow just to be a part of the Halftime Huddle community. If you want to stay connected, inspired, or just feel a little less alone on your own halftime journey, hit follow, subscribe, share the episode with someone you love, reach out on halftimegirl.beehive.com, shoot us an email at halftimegirlpodcast@gmail.com. And as always, remember, you never know who's sitting in halftime right alongside you. Till next time, Halftime Girl.